Hi, my name is Dr. Fab. I'm a physician. I'm post-call right now. I'm here protesting against the regime change business of the deep state currently happening in Pakistan. This is my official documented protest, peaceful protest against the deep state of the wealthy and the powerful nations trying to devour the smaller nations, trying to devour their democracy, currently happening right now actively in Pakistan, whose democratically elected representatives are being planned, manipulated to be derailed by a very corrupt opposition. The opposition is led by no one else but the most corrupt of all the global leaders. Number one, Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif has already made headlines with his Panama Leaks scandals, and he has been rated as one of the most corrupt leaders of the world. He has been the Prime Minister of Pakistan 3 times. He got disqualified by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and now he's being manipulated. He's been monopolized to become the Prime Minister again because he is corrupt enough for the deep state to be able to manipulate the smaller economies, the smaller countries, make them totally subservient, make them totally obedient, because democracy, freedom, and justice is not enough. If you're not going to obey the deep state, you have to go. This is the off with his head, off with the head mentality of the deep state that is currently trying to remove a democratically elected regime in Pakistan because it does not suit them anymore. This has happened many times. If you look at the CIA leaked classified reports, you will see that they killed the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, Liaquat Ali Khan, because he refused to allow Pakistan to be used against Iran. Now we have a democratic leader in Pakistan, Imran Khan. I haven't endorsed him politically. I'm actually always campaigned against him, but I believe in democracy and I believe in his right to rule the country democratically because he's been elected by 220 million Pakistanis. It is the right of 220 million Pakistanis to allow their democratically elected leader to rule the country for another 3 years and complete his tenure. And so deep state has to be stopped. They did this in Libya, they did this in Iraq, and now they're trying to do this in Pakistan because it does not suit them. And whom are they using to try to derail this democratically elected leader? They're using the most corrupt of all leaders in the history of Pakistan. The first one is Nawaz Sharif, who has already been disqualified legally, legitimately by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, and who's being manipulated, monopolized by the deep state to be reinstated in power because he's corrupt enough for them to be abused for their own vested interests. Why is friendship so hard to understand for the deep state? Why can't friendship overtake these manipulative, coward games? Why can't deep state have friendship with Pakistan that has sacrificed so much for the US in the war against terrorism? Right now, if there is a regime change business done successfully in Pakistan, the entire Afghanistan region is going to explode like a volcano. The Pakistan current ruling regime, along with the Pakistan Army, has been able to successfully mediate a truce in Afghanistan for the American people so that the US Marines can come back to the US safely, securely. And if the regime is changed right now in the form of a civil crisis that has been put forward by the deep state, then the lives of those US Marines currently stationed in Afghanistan are going to be jeopardized. And the whole peace process is going to break up. The whole peace deal and accord is going to just fall apart, and the entire region is going to explode like a volcano. And what are you going to do? There could be another 9/11 happen out of that whole fiasco that's going to result from this whole regime change business. You saw that happen in Iraq. You have yet to find peace in Iraq after the Iraq invasion and after the removal of Saddam Hussein. I am not endorsing Saddam Hussein, but regime change has always failed the American people, no matter how much, how strongly the deep state has supported and advocated it. It has failed to bring security to US. It has failed to bring safety to the people of US, let alone bring safety to hundreds and thousands of those US Marines who lost their lives in the wars that they didn't have to go to. So tell me, why is it important for you to stop the deep state from doing another regime change that's going to explode the entire region into a hot ball of volcano, could actually precipitate an apocalyptic World War III and make US less safe, way less safe than it is right now? They did it in Libya, they did it in Iraq, and now they're doing it in Pakistan because they think they cannot control Pakistan, which is ridiculous. You know, honey attracts way more bees than vinegar. Have you tried tenderness, love, and care? Have you tried business partnerships? Have you tried economic trade? Have you tried cordial, courteous, thank you, sweet, please, simple ethics, simple code of mannerisms in promoting your relations with another country? Because these things do work, and they do work long term. But attempts to manipulate smaller governments, attempts to manipulate smaller countries, and using coward means by derailing their democratically elected governments is only going to bring more destruction to this world than it has already done in the past few decades. I'm post-call right now. I didn't have a good call. I've had a pretty bad call. But I'm here because it is important. The second corrupt leader who is being used by the deep state of US and its allies, including India and Israel, to derail the government of Pakistan is Zardari. And who is Zardari? He is the husband of the ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto, who is actually implicated to have assassinated his own wife for power. He is so corrupt. He has already been written up by Raymond Baker in his very famous book of the Echolist and of capitalism. You can read that book. It's written by Raymond Baker. It is out in the market. It tells you how much plunder both Nawaz and Zardari have done in Pakistan of the national treasury. It details the plunder, the corruption they have done in Pakistan. So if you don't want to take my word for it, you don't have to. But the deep state of US, along with its allies in India and Israel, is currently using the two most corrupt global leaders against the democratically elected regime of Pakistan to derail democracy in Pakistan. They are plotting rallies all over Pakistan using tools of corruption. They just had these dummies desecrate the tomb of the founding father of Jinnah. And for this reason, when the guy who did it got arrested, he was immediately released on bail, even though he committed a felony per the Constitution of Pakistan. This is how strong the deep state is in Pakistan, trying to manipulate sovereign countries, trying to get rid of their democracy, trying to hamper and put obstacles in the rights of the 220 million people of Pakistan by taking away their right to choose a leader of their choice. They have chosen Imran Khan in 2018 elections. Now he is being derailed. His government is being derailed under the command, under the funding, under the sponsorship of the deep state of US in collaboration with Israel and India, just because they think he cannot be controlled by them. Have you guys ever tried friendship? Have you guys ever tried love, care, tenderness, cordial relationships, economic trade? You know, simple things. Friendship is better than animosity. You don't have to incite bloodshed. You don't have to annihilate countries. You don't have to decimate civilizations in order to achieve your so-called goals. You cannot dominate the world globally, no matter how powerful you are. You saw what happened in Afghanistan. It has been more than a decade, and yet you are losing your beloved ones. You're losing the blood of your beloved ones. They're bleeding to death, and your economy suffered because of this. If you had tried diplomatic relations, if you had tried partnership, if you had tried economic trade, if you had tried positivity instead of negativity, things would have been totally different. Things would have worked out for you and for the rest of the world. Things could have worked out for those martyrs who got killed in Afghanistan in a war that they didn't have to go to. 9/11 wouldn't have happened. Partnerships, love, friendship is always more important than animosity, hostility, than war, than conflict, which the deep state is a strong supporter of. They don't want the US Marines to exit the Afghanistan region because they want to keep on selling their weapons, because selling weapons is more profitable than the lives of the US Marines who are losing their lives in Afghanistan for a war that should have never happened. So many people have died, not just in US, all over the world. 1 million people died in the Iraq war that didn't even have to happen. Iraq got invaded for no reason. 1 million people died. Millions got decimated and displaced. For what? What did you gain out of it? What did US gain out of it? If anything, you look back at the last few decades, you have lost your beloved ones more than ever. It is the most expensive war in the history of US. Not just in terms of the loss of lives, but also in terms of the loss of revenue and economy. 2008 crash happened. Why did it happen? People got bankrupt. Why did that happen? Because the war economy is not enough to sustain civilizations. It can only sustain the bank balances of a few corporations and the military-industrial complex who are so greedy that they're willing to build their castles and palaces on top of coffins of martyrs. And this is what they did for the last few decades, and they're still trying to do it. A regime change business in Pakistan is gonna blow up the entire region like a hot ball of volcano. It's gonna destabilize the entire region. It's gonna push the country into civil crisis. It's gonna blow up Afghanistan again. And more 9/11s are gonna be happening more than often because you are not doing anything about it. If you don't stop the deep state right now from, ending this regime change business in Pakistan, we are looking at a very apocalyptic future in that region and in the rest of the world. That's all I have to say. Bye bye.